Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to discuss Star Wars, and probably for the first time since the Ahsoka trailer discussion, I am discussing something rather than reviewing it. And what I'm discussing is that The Acolyte is cancelled. Yes, Disney Star Wars' first live-action show has been officially cancelled. Let's see, it was just reported by, I believe a site called Deadline.com just about nearly 24 hours ago, so that officially confirmed it. So yeah, the show is cancelled. The first one to be cancelled, and arguably the second show to overall be cancelled from what I can recall. Well, granted, I don't know if as the Star Wars The Clone Wars was forcibly cancelled when Disney bought Star Wars, though it did eventually come back to have one last season. But I don't think The Acolyte is getting the same sort of treatment. But yeah, granted, I don't know if those really old cartoon series Star Wars Droids or Star Wars Ewoks were cancelled or just not renewed for a season 2 or season 3 for their respective series, or they were always meant to be that limited. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, Star Wars' most controversial television show has been cancelled. It was arguably the most arguably one of the most controversial things that Disney's done. Let's see, due to the political divide it had, unfortunately, with some not liking it's more diverse or some argue welcome messaging and backgrounds, while others did not like the controversial changes or lore it added to Star Wars, particularly with the witches and with the twins, Osha and Maze, being the virgins of the Force, and thinking it undermines the Anakin Skywalker thing. But anyway, I'm going to make this a bit of a quickie. So I'm just going to just pretty much comment. First, going to start reading what the article from Deadline has said. So yeah, let's see. Just going to share my screen. Star Wars. Here we go. Share here. So yeah, this is the article from Deadline. So Star Wars The Acolyte cancelled. No season 2 for Disney Plus series. The article is done by someone called Nelly Andavera. Let's see, saying that showing an image of May here, but it's an exclusive bit of the story. The story of Acolyte will not continue with Lucasfilm opting to not proceed with a second season of Star Wars offshoot starring Amalda Steinberg, sources tell Deadline. Whether the decision comes from more than a month after the 8-episode first season of the series from the creator, director, and executive producer and showrunner Leslie Headland wrapped for its run on Disney+. The news is not entirely surprising. The Acolyte did okay with critics, with 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, but divided Star Wars fans, which is reflected in its overall viewership. Driven by the interest of the Invincible Space franchise, The Acolyte got off to a strong start when it launched on June 4th with 2 episodes, generating 4.8 million views on the first day streamer to rank as the biggest series premiere on Disney Plus this year. The tally rose to 11.1 million views globally after 5 days of streaming. Corroborating with Disney data, the series made its debut on Nielsen's top 10 original charts in its premiere at week number 7, 488 million viewed, climbing to number 6 the following week. The Acolyte could not sustain its momentum, dropping out on the top 10 in the week 3, staying off before returning to number 10 after release of the final 335 million views, believed to be the lowest for a Star Wars series final. Like fellow global streamers, Netflix and Prime Video, Disney Plus has had a high viewership threshold for a new and high-end, big budget series that costs well above $100 million per season to make. There's a little bit of related articles about some of the things that have gone on, like the controversy with harassing the actress there. But continuing on, in interviews, Headland has revealed that she had pitched her idea for a second season, sharing her hopes for a renewal. Lucasfilm's first and most successful to date Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian, is carrying on, crossing over to a feature with the upcoming The Mandalorian Grogu. Ahsoka, the company series that produced The Acolyte, has been renewed for a second season. The Acolyte was a mystery filler that took viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets, emerging dark side powers in its final days of the High Republic era. Former Padawan reunites with her master to investigate the series of crimes, but the forces confront her more sinister than they ever anticipated. In addition to Steinberg, the cast include Lee Jing-jae, who I believe was from the Squid Game and did, of course, learn English to do this role. Manny Jacinto, Jodie Turner-Smith, Dan F. Keane, Rebecca Henderson, Charlie Burnett, Dean Charles Chapman, and Carrie Ann Moss. And that's where the article ends, if you will. So, yeah, that is what they've so far. That is pretty much the news that it said. So, yeah, arguably, so yeah. From what we get, The Acolyte, due to poor viewership, not really, positive with critics for the most part, though they're divided fans. It was the poor viewership numbers that eventually got this show cancelled. So, yeah, The Acolyte got cancelled because of poor viewership. And to compare it to others, we have, let's see this from someone that's shared on Reddit. Let's see here. Yep, let me just get, yep. So we've got here from Reddit, as we can see, we've got viewership of, at the very least, from Mandalorian Season 2 to like Ahsoka, where as we see the premiere of each episode did extremely well here. I think only really, Boba Fett might have had a lower viewership, but arguably, according to this figure, but the premiere of like pretty much every show has at least been over 5 million, with the exception of Book of Boba Fett, though that surprises me a little bit, though granted, it did sort of recover a little bit with next two episodes, with particularly the ones involving the Mandalorian coming strong, but yeah. And as we can see here, every show's final has been pretty much over 500, with The Acolyte, like I said, doing 300 million. So yeah, as we can see from these viewerships, at the very least, the show did consistently well. These shows did consistently well, maybe exception of maybe early Book of Boba Fett, but otherwise, first episode of Book of Boba Fett, but otherwise, the shows have, for most part, on a few episodes of Andor, but it pretty much recovered. So yeah, as we see, the show's viewerships remain consistent here. So The Acolyte did poor viewerships with compared to the rest of the Star Wars shows, which, to be fair, I can kind of understand why. So yeah, what are my thoughts on the whole thing? To be honest, I've had mixed feelings on The Acolyte. Generally, the only decent or good episodes I can think of, well, I found the first two to be pretty good for at least setup, but I think there was a lot of flaws with like some of the dirty pacing and directing, as well as revealing some stuff with the character May, but yeah. And the fifth episode was mostly good for the lightsaber combat. Arguably, also the final episode had some good lightsaber combat, but generally the other episodes were a mixed bag. The Witcher. Let's see, the third episode, which revealing like the backstory of Usher and May and the Witches. Let's see, did not really portray the witches in, I think, that much a sympathetic life, and made May look like a bit of a psychopath, to be honest. And so you had that. The fourth episode, May's character completely had like a 180 wanting to go to the Jedi. She wanted to turn herself into the Jedi, even though she was supposed to be killing like that Wookiee Jedi. And also the Wookiee Jedi was killed off screen. Episode 6, let's see, I thought was okay, but let's see, May was pretending to be like Osha, didn't really lead anywhere, and I think Sol was kind of took too long to like figure out that it was actually May instead of Osha. 7th episode, let's see, pretty much showed from Sol's point of view, but frankly, I think didn't really help to do much favors in let's see, fixing the sort of backstory, even if it may have, let's see, made Sol a bit more of a flawed character, and let's see, the witch is a bit more sympathetic, even though I'm pretty certain the witches still looked pretty bad from, let's see, from most people's perspective. And the 8th episode was just like, stuff with May was generally bad, and then I think the whole bit with not allowing Sol to try and explain himself to Osha was pretty kind of poorly rushed. But yeah, stuff like that. I mean, there was definitely some stuff to see that had potential, but it was mostly squandered by the writing. But I think, as you can probably tell from my consistent, let's see, description, that the biggest problem the show had for me was the characterization of May, where they either try to make her a bit too psycho, but even though they're trying to make her a bit pathetic, but also at the same time, like, portraying her trying to be the villain, but then has quickly certain 180 turns of just like certain decisions that seem to contradict what she said earlier. Basically, frankly, the show would have probably been better if May and Osha were just this one and the same character, where it's like the trailers were kind of hinting at like this assassin, this acolyte, was arguably let's say a former Jedi Padawan that's now gone off to become an assassin, and her old former Jedi companion, let's see, master, and let's see, fellow Jedi students are now hunting her down. I think, honestly, that would probably be a much better premise for a show, as you end up learning, and maybe like bits. I mean, you could still maybe do the witches in the background, but perhaps, let's see, not as let's see, controversial, I think. But yeah. Well, granted, I will admit those witches weren't exactly impressive, especially with the whole power of one, the power of two, the power of many, when the majority of them got killed by just one Jedi. Let's see, one average Jedi Master. So it's like so much for the power of many. So yeah. So yeah, the Acolyte got cancelled as a result of that. So yeah, cancelled because of the poor viewership ratings. Yeah. Now, granted, I will admit, even though I didn't find the show to be good, I will admit I was kind of hoping just to have a second season, just to wrap up everything that was teased for like the next season. So I put an alarm to try and make sure I wouldn't sleep too long for a nap there, but I really should probably turn it off. But yeah, arguably the show was not the best. So but yeah, there was a lot of things I was teasing for a second season, particularly like Yoda getting involved with like that veteran, that Marian Jedi Master. I can't remember, but I know she appears in a few High Republic books and comics. Let's see, she was getting, let's see, Yoda involved. Let's see, the fact that she was, I believe, Quimar's former Jedi Master, like the stuff behind that. And also that we got the tease of Darth Plagueis at the last episode. So yeah, there was a bunch of EU Legends stuff that was hinted at, and finally we got the first live action appearance of Darth Plagueis. I am wondering how, with the show cancelled, how that stuff's going to be addressed. If I had to guess, they're going to try maybe a novel or comic, or let's see, because I don't think they're going to decanonize the show, even though that would probably make a lot of anti-Acolyte fans happy, though I don't think that's going to be the case. As far as I can tell, Disney has not decanonized any of their really content or material, though granted there's been some contradictions with the Star Wars canon comics and the Ahsoka novel with some animated series that Dave Filoni has done later, which, yeah, that is entirely on his fault. I'm not going to give him excuses for that, but yeah. So yeah, there's definitely a few things that have been left open and curious on how they're going to address. My best, like I said, probably best bet is to probably do a comic or books. Though I wouldn't be surprised that if this Disney and Star Wars eventually ever decide to do something with Darth Plagueis, maybe a loose adaptation of the Darth Plagueis novel from like the EU Legends, or some dirty Darth Plagueis movie or TV series. maybe they might make some offhand comment about how he once studied this divergence of these this twins were actually the same person from the Force kind of thing, where let's see, I studied that, but let's see, found it to be maybe make a cheeky offhand comment that I found it to be a bit more of a long-term failure given the show's cancellation. So who knows? That could be a thing that could end up happening pretty much. So yeah, but let's see. But yeah, most likely you're just going to get some comic or novel. I'm not sure, but we'll have to wait and see on that regard. But yeah, this is arguably the first live action show to be cancelled, which to be fair, it seems to be such a failure in viewerships that it did not really match its budget of 118 million. So it seems like if a show at least stays in the top 10 and with that amount of budgeting, I guess. Let's see. If it stays in the top 10 from, like, I believe this Nelson viewership, the show seems to be can stay renewed. And from what I showed from the chart, for the most part, you had quite a few episodes steering well, but it seems The Acolyte failed those numbers, so it went down. And then Disney decided, this show is not worth the budget that we spent. We're canceling it. So arguably that was fair. It's very understandable from that end. Do I like the fact that things have been left, let's see, unresolved? But arguably that could also be the problem with the show and The Acolyte and I guess the showrunners not being 100%, perhaps being a bit too confident that they might have gone a second season, but clearly that's not the case. But granted, this is arguably The Acolyte is Disney Plus as first failure of the year, because from what I can tell, Disney Plus has had, for most part, Disney particularly has mostly had quite a few successes this year, be it the the return of the 90s X-Men animated series with 1997, in many ways that renewed interest in superheroes from Marvel, from what I can recall. You had Inside Out 2, which is the highest grossing film of the year. And of course, you've had Deadpool and Wolverine, which has been for many people the best Marvel movie in years, and the first one to reach a billion for quite a while. As 2023 was a pretty bad year for Disney, despite it being its 100-year anniversary. So, but yeah, The Acolyte is arguably the first failure in terms of this year, and it's unfortunately Star Wars related, and also the first arguably failure for something live action with Star Wars since Solo bombed at the box office. So that's not good. Though granted, I would argue that Solo was partly due to the backlash that came from The Last Jedi and the fact that it was set between Avengers Infinity War and Deadpool 2. So arguably, I think if Disney just waited until December, like they did with the other Star Wars movies, instead of returning to the May month, that movie could have potentially lasted. But now, all the stuff it was leaving for cliffhanger has to be addressed in comics and other spin-off series, because it turned Darth Maul being head of Crimson Dawn. But now you've got Crimson Dawn being dealt in the Star Wars comics. Post Empire Strikes Back. So that stuff gets resolved there. I'm not sure. I think there may or may not be a Lando movie they might do, but at the moment it doesn't look like things are being resolved on that end. I don't know. I don't know if that's still happening or not. But yeah. Now, I don't know. So yeah. So granted, I suppose with what happened with the Solo Star Wars story and the spin-off that followed up, you're probably the same with The Acolyte addressing that stuff. Maybe some animated shorts or tales perhaps could also address it, but I am not sure if Dave Filoni is going to try and cover that stuff from a failed TV show with The Acolyte miniseries. But yeah, so yeah, I'm wondering I wonder how this cancellation of the show will affect the thing. I assume that the showrunner will be upset. I'm not sure if that means Disney's going to work with her again, because of she's given them their first cancelled Star Wars show. Granted, this is also the second cancelled Lucasfilm show since Disney has taken over Lucasfilm. The first one being Willow, which I genuinely liked more than most people, but I will admit there had some definitely problems with the dialogue. So now you've had two cancelled shows from Disney Plus. Now, granted, I'm not sure if there's going to be some change in management or if Lucasfilm's going to look at reflection of things. At the moment, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy, despite how some people will extremely wish, is going to be removed as a result of the failure of the show. I'm not sure. Maybe if these upcoming Star Wars movies bomb at the box office, they might decide that, okay, let's see. We keep having mixed results in Star Wars. We need to change direction, maybe management of Lucasfilm, and they might, possibly remove her. But at the moment, I don't think, her direction is going to be. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy, at the very least, is going to be removed. But at the very least, I think the showrunner for this show, I think them and Lucasfilm are going to now part directions at this point, because I don't see her continuing to work after this show got cancelled. Now, does this mean that see any chance of any other live-action Star Wars shows from the High Republic era going to be not going to happen? I don't know. At the very least, I do know that we still have got that Young Jedi Adventures from the High Republic era, so that era might not be completely dead for television, though. Granted, I do wonder if we are going to get any more live-action shows, at least for a while. They might go animated with that one. Granted, I still don't know what the announcement for animated shows. Lucasfilm Animation is going to do next now that the Bad Batch has been concluded this year. But yeah. So but yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think. What else do I have to say? Oh yeah. Now, granted, there's been all kinds of reactions online. You've definitely had, the people that hated the show, of course, are celebrating, but you've also got some, fans that loved or defended the show, feel like Disney is enabling, I guess you could say, anti-woke or racist crowds, if you will, or, it's crowd that you sometimes get with the show, and while I was saying in response to that, while those crowds do arguably exist, and some of those just complain about anything Star Wars related, no matter how good. Maybe I'm not sure about maybe Andor they might have not complained about, but I don't know. I think they might have found some way to complain about Andor, but I do think that but I think that those fans have probably might be ignoring the fact that some people had some very genuine criticisms of how the show has been structured, mostly episodes being 30 minutes long. Many felt like this should have been 45 or 45 minutes an episode if they were just going to do 8 episodes instead of 30 minutes, because it's that's too short. Some had issues with the production, the pacing, and not to mention writing with certain characters and very certain story decisions. I think, not everyone who hated the show was racist, sexist, or whatever you will, but no, there are some elements out there, to be fair, but there were some genuine problems, as we can tell from the viewership, as even some of the previous Star Wars shows, despite its mixed reputation, like Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, and I guess you could argue even to the extent of Ahsoka, they still did pretty well despite some controversies surrounding those shows, but The Acolyte didn't. So there's that. Now, granted, I think there's also been some comparisons by the fact that some have also used the comparisons of the Clone Wars, not having a good first season, or it got ritzy despite some. I think ritzy changing the whole its viewership not great, though. I think some people that is not true, as the Clone Wars got the best premiere on Cartoon Network at the time. And while, yes, the first season of Clone Wars may not be well regarded, there was still a lot of good episodes in there, like the one with the rookies, like the Dominoes, those would become the members of Domino Squad, Heavy, Fives, and Echo. Very popular clone characters, and arguably one of the favorite episodes, and showed many people the potential that the clones had within the Clone Wars series. And also, the introduction of Cad Bane, showing some of the more original villains that the show did. There's also stuff with Asajj Ventress. I think that was also good in that show. And also some story arcs like the Battle of Ryloth. So there's some good episodes and episodes with potential, and arguably the show the show, the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, lived up to that potential for many people. That the fact that for many people, the Clone Wars had helped redefine or change their perspective of the arguably prequel trilogy or the prequel era as a whole, depending on how you do, and in many ways helped renew interest in that era, and also continues to be popular to this day, as well as creating one of the most popular female characters with Ahsoka. Let's see, the Acolyte. Unfortunately, I don't think will have such a legacy. As far as I can tell, none of the episodes are very well received, with only exception being perhaps the 5th episode, or at least even some of its haters at least admitting it's somewhat decent, mostly due to the fact that you had that lightsaber battle. The lightsaber battles were like the best that happened under the Disney era of Star Wars, because I mean, some might boast that it's better than, like, let's see, the best lightsaber duels ever. Some saying surpassed like those in the prequel era. Frankly, I don't really agree with that. I think it's the best that Disney has done so far, but I don't think it's reached the magnitude of like pre-Disney Star Wars just yet. But who knows? Will there be a show that does it? Possibly, or movie possibly, but it's not The Acolyte. It's the best that they've done so far, but let's see, nowhere near previously. But yeah. But arguably, an episode filled with lightsaber action, and even if brutal deaths of Jedi is not enough to, I think, continue and renew a show's legacy. At the very least, if there's any, it might be the only thing people talk positively about this show, at the very least, or at least agreed, is like the lightsaber duels. But I don't see the Acolyte being fondly remembered, and arguably might have damaged the High Republic era's reputation. I mean, granted, I will be fair, some of the controversies on the show may be a bit over-exaggerated. The biggest one was, of course, the Ki-Adi-Mundi one. It's like, okay, it didn't really follow the EU Legends timeline thing, but let's see, that stuff is no longer canon, so that's like a minor criticism at best. It's just like a cameo. I mean, a surprise cameo. I figured the only character from the High Republic era that would show that came from the prequel era that would show up would be Yoda, because he's 900 years old. But it seems like also Ki-Adi-Mundi is there. I'm not sure if like any other Jedi characters might appear from the prequel era, but probably Jedi Master Yaddle. But who knows? There might be some other Star Wars aliens that are also like over like 100 years old. But basically, and that's not much going to be seen. And granted, we're not going to like get a second season to renew that. So yeah. So, The Acolyte has been cancelled. Let's see, it's arguably the first failure since Solo. Granted, it's arguably probably also left Star Wars in a bit of a bad place right now. Granted, you had The Bad Batch, which for those that liked it, and it ended decently. For those that didn't, it was like, not something to be bothered with. The Tales of the Empire, from what I can tell, was mostly received. So there's some okay stuff that's happened to Star Wars this year, or some good things, but the Acolyte is arguably the worst. Maybe the Outlaws game will do well, but I'm not. There seems to be some people who are not doing well, but who knows? Well, the Skeleton Crew is coming out this year, and there was a trailer. Some are not. Let's see, mixed on like the whole suburban etching vibes that you get from like I think 1980s America or something, but there might be potential that show, The Goonies, and for all we know, people might end up liking that show, but it's arguably aimed at a more younger demographic. But who knows? That show might just redeem Star Wars for this year. We'll have to wait and see, or maybe the Star Wars Outlaws. But at the moment, arguably Star Wars, even is arguably of all of Lucas, of all the like properties that are owned by Disney this year, it's not looking the best. So that might not be hope for the franchise. But granted, the movies are still coming out, so hopefully that Mandalorian and Grogu film will do extremely well. But at the moment, Star Wars is not really looking like good and look good in the good spot. But we'll have to wait and see how the show, how the future Star Wars projects, do, as well as what Lucasfilm will change as a result of the results of the cancellation of this show, and if there will be any reflection. But anyway, that's all I really had to say, as I was only going to really try and do this for 30 minutes. For those who ended up listening, I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. But for now, I am Blue Star Saber, signing off. May the Force be with you, and farewell.